It was my experience with the development of Mariachi Aztlán as a program that led me to become an administrator. And it was because enlightened administrators like Dickie Gastelum and Mary Jane Cook aside, there was a palpable racist antithesis to the establishing of mariachi curriculum within the public school system. And as a teacher, you confronted it head on. It was the comments that I got from the orchestra teacher when I invited that orchestra teacher to be part of this. Well, I can't do it because I can't teach kids to play out of tune. It was the comments that were made that, well, this isn't a legitimate art form because there's no written curriculum. So we wrote a curriculum. This isn't a legitimate art form, there's no written musical arrangements. So we wrote musical arrangements. It was all of those comments that, for me as a teacher, were fundamentally transformational. How can you be against this? How can you be against connecting kids with who they are? And when we started aligning our messages, when I would say to the erstwhile new Pepe Martinez on violin that really wants to only play mariachi, and I'd say, that's beautiful, but play orchestra as well. Why? Because it's more time that you get to practice your violin. And before you know it, after the first semester, they're hooked. It's an on-ramp to other musical experiences, but never sacrificing the fact that mariachi is just as valid a musical experience as anything else. They had to audition for the performing group. And part of that audition process was they had to have good grades. Athletics required at the time a 2.5 GPA. I required a 3.0 GPA to be part of the Mariachi Aztlán. You couldn't have any disciplinary referrals. You had to be all caught up on your schoolwork. And we also started a scholarship fund that when we went out and performed and gig, of course, it was self-supporting because we were buying our own uniforms and our own sombreros and our own instruments. But we were also setting aside money because I would tell kids, every year you're banking so much money. When you graduate from high school, you will have earned a scholarship to go to college because mariachi is just a vehicle to get you to college.
Mariachi music has helped me a lot in a way with the person I am now. I used to kind of slack on my classes, but mariachi kind of like helped me to improve on myself and to try to do better things. And it helped me a lot because now I'm going to the university.
As a superintendent of schools now, one of the biggest revolutions that we're preparing for right now is the introduction of the Common Core State Standards. And what is so interesting for me is that as we talk about the assessment and evaluation of student learning around the Common Core State Standards, we're talking about demonstration. We're talking about being able to present. We're talking about being able to speak. We call them the 21st century skills. So how do you present? How do you speak? How are you able to demonstrate proficiency? Heck, we were doing that back in the 90s with Mariachi Aztlán, where kids were going on stage in front of tens of thousands of people and presenting and speaking and singing and performing. On Monday, guess what they were doing? They were self-evaluating the group's performances. We'd pick 2 or 3 performances. They developed a rubric. They would grade themselves on their personal performance, and they would grade the group on their performance. So my kids were writing, my kids were using higher order thinking skills, my kids were expressing themselves within their art form, and they were critiquing their own performances. That's when I knew that this is much more than just a music program.